Hello, you are listening to another episode from the show Unplug. On this show, we free the minds of the people that have been indoctrinated and enslaved by the MLM matrix, or the telemarketing matrix, or the direct selling industry. In particular, we speak truth against the lies and fallacies of Amway and LTD. My name is TJ Misumi, your host, and on this episode specifically, we are going to expose the industry of grifters, the financial educational space, so to speak. Just because it's very, very easy in today's world to see an individual that may look successful, that may appear to have this, impressive lifestyle, and that may appear to have, good financial standing, that appear to have financial success. It's very, very easy to maybe see that and look at that and be like, okay, that person seems legit. They seem to have credibility over financial success and wealth, and and in many cases that might not be the case. And what you could be seeing is just a mirage, an illusion, so to speak. It's very, very easy to see that in today's world. In today's world, and particularly, for my generation, there's a lot of ads that you'll see on, Rumble or YouTube about, a man or woman that is offering to help you to become financially wealthy, financially successful, financially independent, through any kind of industry. And all you have to do is just, join their educational platform or their educational program, to learn from them, and then, develop and generate your own success in whatever industry that they are promoting, that they have success in, and that they have credibility in or over. And this really just all comes just because a little while back I had someone that, suggested that, or said or claimed that, um, even though I was financially harmed, from my Amway / LTD experience, that, I still learned a lot from my upline, specifically my sponsor, Daniel Goebel. And that, he taught me how to build wealth, and he taught me how to budget my money well. And that regardless of the differences that I have against him, that, I have to admit that, he is financially successful, and he is a good example of budgeting your money well, and just a good pillar of success when it comes to finance. And I'm going to be very, very blunt with you. That's a bunch of BS. It really is. First and foremost, I was at a financial loss for 6 years. I was a part of Amway and LTD for 6 years, from 2016 to the year 2022. And I was at a financial loss where I was losing more money than what I was actually earning. I was spending more money on Amway products and LTD products for 6 years than what I was actually earning back. I was in the negative. I was at a financial loss. And that was all because of Daniel and his pressuring and manipulation of me having to be a good example for my team, to have a high personal circle of 300 PV, which was $1,000 for me per month, as well as having to be a good example to go to meetings and to subscribe to LTD, to be a good example for my team, my downline, a good IBO. So subscribing to all the LTD content products and going to conferences, etc., etc., I was at a financial loss, and it was all for his own benefit as well as my upline above him. Yeah, it wasn't like for my good interest of my own. It was all for his good interest. I mean, there was a time where, like, I wanted to temporarily put more money towards saving up for a car for, a couple of months, but he was suggesting, no, put all of your extra money towards, your ditto and have a higher PV, personal circle. Where my suggestion was, I can still do that, but I can also save money for a car. But then he was like, no, just put it all towards ditto. So that's just one example out of many that I could give you over how, his financial advice or whatever, counsel, mentorship was all for his own benefit. It wasn't for mine whatsoever. And the proof is in the financial loss that I was in. And it was all because I was pressured to spend what I was spending, which was $1,000 per month for PV, points per volume, personal circle during the PV, as well as all the LTD subscriptions and content. And I've gone over that over previous episodes of mine. But that is the truth. And then on top of that, Daniel Gopel isn't a good example for financial success. Because, yeah, he may be financially prospering, but he had to look at how he made that money and how he is making that money. It's through exploitation of others. It's through usury of others. I've gone over this previously on my show, but I'll go over this briefly, how when it comes to the Amway comp plan specifically, it's a real stat. Only 2 to 3% make income or make a profit off of everyone else's losses, based off of everyone's losses specifically, which is 98, 99% of people, or 97, 98% of people that are part of Amway. That's how the Amway comp plan works. So, I mean, it's through usury of others. So, yeah, he may be financially prospering, but it's based off of the majority of his downline, if not all of his downline, that are at a financial loss in order for him to be at a financial gain. Him and his wife, Tal Gopal. That's the Amway comp plan. That's the real stat of that. That's how the Amway comp plan works. And then LTD, it's even worse because he's a platinum, so he's actually earning tools compensation from all of his downline subscribing to LTD, while everyone else in his downline is receiving zero compensation for LTD. And the reason why is because I've gone super on my show. If you're below platinum, you receive zero LTD tools compensation from your downline that is under you, that is subscribed to LTD, buying all the LTD products. Whereas if you're platinum and above, you are earning compensation from LTD from your downline that is subscribing and buying all the LTD products. And Daniel Gopal and his wife Tal Gopal just happens to be a platinum. So he is earning tools compensation from his downline, while everyone else's downline is not earning any tools compensation, and he's not disclosing how the tools compensation plan works to his downline when it comes to the LTD tools compensation. So all of his wealth, all of his money, or the majority of it anyway, is coming from usury and exploitation of others, people on his downline that he's manipulating and using through usury and not being honest with people. Truly. Okay, for example, actually, I'll just dive into this right now. I'll use him as an example. But when you get approached by an IBO, by an Amway IBO at a grocery store, at a mall, or at a gas station, or any other marketplace out there, they're gonna say to you, hey, I'm working with some entrepreneurs that were able to build a web-based asset, and they retired in their late 20s, making 6 figures plus, and they're coaching me and mentoring me to do the same thing, so I don't have to work a job forever. Or hey, I'm connected to a guy that built a web-based asset, and he was able to retire in his mid-30s, making 6 figures plus, and he's coaching me and mentoring me to do the same thing, so I don't have to work a job forever. Or I'm working with a couple that was able to develop a web-based asset, and they were able to double their income outside their jobs, and they're coaching me and mentoring me to do the same thing. So, I don't have to work a job forever. I have more options outside of my job. whatever the case may be, whatever they choose. And then after that, if that sparks interest in you, your prospect to them, when they meet you, down the um later on in the conversation, they'll drop the message where it's 3 questions. Hey, are you the kind of person that keeps himself open to opportunities if they ever arise? And the second question is, okay, hey, I can't make any promises, but if I were to see if I can get you to connect to my mentors, would you take that seriously? And the third question would be, okay, cool. Okay, if I were to try and make an effort to try and get you connected with my mentors, is that something that you would place a high value upon? That's the third question. And then from there, they'll take your number. They won't give you their number. They'll just take your number, and then you're in the vetting process, and whatever. And then you're in the vetting process, but before they get 2 phone calls, um, phone call one, phone call two. Phone call one, they'll be like, hey, my name's Dan Goebel. I met you the other day at Barnes and Nobles. I spoke with my mentors, but they had a few questions. So I just wanted to check with you. Do you have any experience building web-based assets? Um, do you know what web-based assets are? Um, how much experience do you have in building passive income? These are the kind of questions they'll ask you when the phone call one. Um, let's see here. There was like another thing. It was like the term like building big business, or what was it? Big business, web-based big business. It's like a term for it. It's like a build big business. Okay, yeah, information age. Do you have any experience building information age businesses? Do you even know what information age businesses are? That's another question, and then they'll see what your answers are, and then after that he'll say, okay, I'll send this over to my mentor, and I'll see what he says after hearing your answers or whatever. And then that's the end of phone call one. And then phone call two, they'll say, hey, good news. My mentor is willing to meet up with you. It'll be this date and this date that they're available at a Panera Bread. If I were to set that up, would you make any one of those times work? And then you go over there and they'll say, hey, take it seriously, wear this, casual, business casual, and take them seriously and whatever. And after that, you're in the 7 to 9 meeting process, which I've gone over before, and whatever. But notice how, like, when you first were approached, you were approached with the promise of, mentors making 6 figures plus, millionaires, doubling income outside of their jobs, but then you'll notice that most likely, for majority of cases, and by majority I mean majority, you're meeting with someone that's, that doesn't have those results. You're meeting with someone that's further on in the downline that's not having those results. And they're the ones that if you end up receiving an offer for mentorship or partnership, they're the ones that will be coaching. For example, when I would say those things, when it came to share my story where I'm connected to so-and-so that built this and developed this and had this result, this much income, and retired at this age, they would meet Daniel, my prospect. My prospects would meet Daniel. And if they got launched and received an offer, Daniel would be the one coaching them. And Daniel does not make 6 figures plus. He's still working a job, him and his wife. And they're platinums, yes, but they're not the lifestyle that they would coach me to say to people. That's the same with the majority, or that's the same with of many people in Amway, where they're coached to say things that are not true, which I've gone over, which is a RICO charge if you're not actually being coached by someone directly, and you're making up, a lifestyle that's not your coach's lifestyle. Then that's a RICO charge because you're doing a misrepresentation. It doesn't count that, you listen to someone's audio that has that result that you're speaking of, or you go to their conferences 4 times a year that has that result that has those results that you're speaking of to prospects, if you're not actually being directly hands-on coached by them, and they're not actually taking you by the hand literally to build your so-called business, that is a RICO charge, and that is against the False Claims Act. And so again, misrepresentation, and they talk a big game, and so that with that example there, um, you know, um, it, you're hearing one thing about lifestyle and this, but then when you finally get an offer to receive coaching, you're not being coached by the people that lured you in the first place, which was, oh, passive income, 6 figures, when they're not actually making that at all. And then on top of that, Dan Goebel, I know him for a fact, where he would tell my prospects as well as my downline prospects, and as well as anyone else too, prospects, that like, hey, I can help you become platinum in your first 1 or 2 years in business. In your first 1 or 2 years in business, when he himself is struggling to maintain his platinumship, because he went QTO platinum for 1 year and then he fell back, and he's only been able to maintain his platinumship for about 6 months in a year, and then it just dwindles and falls back. So he's still struggling to maintain platinum 12 months out of the year, let alone increase and go beyond platinum. So how can he teach you to go platinum in 1 or 2 years when he's still struggling to maintain his platinumship, and he's been in since 2014? It doesn't make sense. And then he also says, yeah, hey, I can help you, in your first 1 or 2 years go platinum, and then and then after that, in your third or fifth year in business, I can help you become financially independent and wealthy. But he's been in 4 or 5 years and he's still working a job. So how can he teach others how to become financially independent with no job when he still has a job himself, as well as his wife as well too? You can't teach something you've never done before. So where's the credibility? It's just, again, it's all hypocrisy, and that scenario is happening all over LTD for majority of cases. Not all cases, but at least over 90% of cases, that's what's happening. All manipulation. And my point, going back to that, is that, yeah, Daniel may be making some decent income with his platinumship, but it's through exploitation, usury of others, and manipulation. And, he's lying to people by, talking about an Amway comp plan, when he knows very well that the majority of the income that is being made from the so-called leaders above him, is coming from LTD. That they're not disclosing how that LTD comp plan works, as well as him, lying to others as far as like, hey, I can help you go platinum in your first 1 or 2 years when you're still struggling to maintain your platinumship, and you've been in for almost 10 years now. And on top of that, you're saying that you can have you're claiming to prospects and you're down that you can help them become free in 5 years when you're still working your job yourself. And he'll even say to, hey, 95% of businesses fail. I was trying to use that as a justification. 95% of businesses fail. That's what he said to me when I saw him at Panera Bread with that prospect in my old downline the other day, when I confronted him about the tool system. And it's funny, he'll use that, but then he'll turn around and say, hey, this curriculum that we have with LTD and the Kevin Schweer's team, it's foolproof. If you just put in the work ethic and put in 100% effort, it is foolproof that, you will go platinum in 2 years, and you will become financially independent in 5 years total, if you, just follow the curriculum and put 100% effort, genuine effort towards the curriculum. It is foolproof. Like, I won't be surprised. No one will be surprised. But then you want to turn around and say to people like me that left or whatever that, hey, 95% of businesses fail. It's one or the other. So, I mean, if that stat is true, then why are you claiming people that, hey, this is foolproof if you just put in the work ethic? When in reality, it's actually a huge failure rate. A majority of people are not actually being successful with your curriculum. And so it's a huge failure rate. And so why don't you just be honest then? Like, if you're going to use that stat, then you have to be honest and say, hey, you know what? This curriculum, even if you do put in 100% effort, there's a huge failure rate. Not everyone succeeds in it. That's just how it's designed. Only a very, very small, less than 10% of people actually succeed in this, even with putting in genuine effort into it. If you said that, I'd be cool with it. But I mean, you're claiming, hey, no, this is a very, very feasible thing to achieve. Um, this curriculum is very, very feasible as well, as long as you just put in your own work ethic, genuine work ethic. But then you want to turn around and say, hey, no, I mean, 95% of businesses fail in general, in any industry. And it's one or the other. You can't just have both. Like, if it really is that status true, then you have to be honest then with your program and say, hey, you know what, it's a huge failure rate. Or if you want to say it's a huge success rate, then stop using that 95% bullshit. It's one or the other. You can't just, I mean, you're trying to just go from one stat to the other and then turn around and say something the complete opposite to that stat just to, keep running your system and keep running your scam. It's one or the other. You can't just go both ways and have half the truths all the time. So again, he is a bad example for financial advice just because he doesn't have credibility over things that he claims to prospects and to downline. And the money that he does have, the decent income that he does have, it's through exploitation and usury. For me personally, I would rather be broke than be financially prospering off of people's financial losses. That's just me. I have a soul. Unlike my upline, including Daniel Global. So for me, that is not a pillar of success to me. That is not a pillar of financial success for me, in my opinion. To be making money off of people being manipulated and used through usury, financial usury. It's just, to me, that's not a good pillar of success to me. How you made that money, how Dan Go makes that money, it's not a good pillar of success to me, in my opinion. So that's a bad example for financial advice. Because I mean, of course, he has a lot of money. Of course, he has good money. He's using people. He's exploiting people. He's making people off of other people's financial losses. So of course, yeah, he has money. It's not an honest living. He's not making an honest living. He's not making his income honestly. So he's a bad example. Now, if you were to use someone else that is making money honestly and they're financially successful, great. But if you're going to use someone that's, cheating their way, manipulating their way, deceiving their way, usury, and exploitation, that's a bad example. Because, I mean, anyone can do that. Pussies do that, by cheating, manipulating, lying to make income when, people of integrity, real men, real women, make money honestly. So that's a bad example. In that regard, and then also just the other regard as far as just him, being a good example of just, it's all BS. I can tell you firsthand, if you get mentored by Dan Gobel, you'll be at a financial loss. Okay? And then I can also tell you firsthand, the money that he does have, it's through usury and manipulation of others, both with the Amway comp plan and the LTD Tools competition plan. And if you really understand how those two comp plans work, you know what I'm talking about. Alright, so he's a bad example for that, and no one should be using that. Him as an example. And then on top of that, it's not just with the Amway and LTD industry where you have these grifters, these fake gurus that, talk a big game. Actually, I want to go back to that. When it comes to Dan Gobel and all these LTD / Amway distributors, one way you can prove all that is I want to see a profit and loss balance sheet. Dana Gobel never showed a profit and loss balance sheet to any of my prospects or my downline. And it's the same with everyone else in my crossline. It's the same with everyone else on his team. He never shows a profit and loss balance sheet of his Amway business and his LTD distributor account. And on top of that, if Daniel Gilbert really claims to be, this financial guru expert that can help people become financially wealthy and independent with Amway and whatever, then prove it. Don't tell me, show me. I want to see a profit and loss balance sheet from your entire downline. If not, you're full of it. Okay? Now, it's not just with the Amway Ltd industry, it's also with multiple other industries as well too. With these so-called fake gurus, or with these so-called gurus, entrepreneurs out there, it's done through this method. Number one is you have to have a really good story, good background that really appeals to people, really pulls them in. Your upbringing, this and this reason was what caused my poverty that I had. It was inducive to my poverty that I had growing up or that I had in my past, and but I was able to, pull myself up with my bootstraps and get to work and build whatever I built. Whatever, just a really good story to connect with people. That's the first method. The second method is lifestyle, and this is where people can get really, really deceived and manipulated. So as I mentioned before, there's a lot of people advertising online, like YouTube or Rumble. I mean, there's so many ads that pop up that you come across with these entrepreneurs that claim, "Hey, I can help you become independent, financially wealthy, passive income through whatever industry. Just join a program." There's so many of these things out there, and they show their lifestyle where they have like a Bugatti or just some really expensive fast car, and they have a Rolex. They might be wearing a nice suit, a nice dress, or whatever, and showing off their lifestyle. I want to tell you that if you're seeing that online specifically, that's all fake. Okay, because first and foremost, it's very, very easy. Maybe not all fake. I'd say at least 98% that is all fake. Because it's very, very easy. People don't know this. It's very, very easy to rent out, a very fast car like a Lamborghini or whatever. It's very, very easy to rent out fast cars, not to buy them, but to rent them for like a day or so. Like it only costs a couple $100 just to rent those things out. Same thing with like a Rolex. There's places where you can rent out a Rolex for a couple $100 or so. It's not that expensive to rent out, a Rolex. So in other ways, you can finance it temporarily and just rent it out. Same thing with clothing, like a suit or a dress. You can, rent stuff out. And it's very, very easy to rent stuff out to make yourself look impressive, look successful, look financially wealthy. For example, I know in Dubai, for example, people can rent out vehicles, like fast cars, luxury cars for a couple $100. They can rent out properties, luxury apartments that look nice for, a couple $100. So it's very, very easy to do that. And then you can for example, spend a whole week in Dubai for a vacation or whatever, film some content, and that 1 week can be enough for you to have dozens and dozens of content for you to put on your platform to say, "Hey, I'm traveling the world, I'm wealthy, look at all the stuff that I have, look at all the stuff that I bought," when all you did was rent that out for a week or a day or whatever. But you made so many videos that you're posting it separately at a time to make it look like it happened or it's happening consistently with your lifestyle, when you just rented that out for a day or so or a week or so. So that's an example where a lot of things that you see there online, the lifestyle really isn't actually the lifestyle. It's just fake. It's all rented out. It's all financed. But it's very, very easy to see that. If you don't know that, you'd be like, "Oh, this guy's successful," when no, he's just full of crap. That's not his car. That's not his Rolex. That's not his suit. they rented them out. I know when it comes to like in the industry of Amway, there's a lot of leaders in a couple of training systems or training programs where the top leaders are renting out, suits, renting out shoes and watches for conferences, so they look wealthy and successful in front of prospects and downline when they're speaking on stage for conferences. So I know that to be true. And then that that goes for any industry as well too. Online, when you see that stuff online, people promoting stuff, it's all show. It's just a mirage. But it's to impress you and to make it look like, oh, this guy is a good pillar of success. He's financially wealthy and successful, and so they talk a big game. And they try and show a big game by promoting the lifestyle and by doing these things. But then they're deceiving and manipulating people purposefully because they're doing that and showing that and claiming that, oh, this is all mine that I bought, when you didn't actually buy that. And you don't actually own that. That's the second thing, is lifestyle. And then the third thing would be, build an audience. So go on multiple platforms and promote your content or promote your educational platform on your platform promote your platform that teaches and claims that can help people become wealthy in whatever industry that you're claiming to help build wealth in, with your assistance. So just go on multiple podcasts, go on multiple platforms, and promote the hell out of your training program so that people know about it and it builds an audience. People know you and they know your training program, so-called. And the fourth thing is just, again, lifestyle again, like, show fake bank statements, show cash, show fake cash, burn the cash that you're holding in your hand and say, man, y'all stress over money, and then you burn cash. I've seen that before. And it's just fake cash where someone's like, burning cash in front of the camera and say, you guys stress over money and you guys are worried about money and focus on paying your bills and whatever. But those are the four things right there that the methods that they use to sell online trading programs, these grifters. And a lot of them have been exposed recently. A very, very common one is Ty Lopez. He's a so-called entrepreneur online. He's just a fake entrepreneur, honestly. He started off being a so-called entrepreneur at the age of 19. He had a dating business, and that dating business was actually a scam. It wasn't a legitimate business. And there's evidence about that. If you do your own research on it, I'll try and put that on my sources. But he ran a scam through an online dating business, and then he switched over to courses on how to build wealth in multiple industries, such as real estate, Bitcoin, EFT, all these things, and people have gone over this stuff already. I'll try and list my sources, but those were all scams, and he claimed and promised that, hey, I don't want to make money off of you. I just want to actually help you. So, like, if you find this program isn't for you, or this program didn't fit your needs in helping you genuinely, you will get a full refund. But there are multiple reports from multiple of his different programs where people have not gotten a refund. And people have reported him for, they've spent so much money on his courses and they haven't helped, and people have also exposed him from not having experience in the areas that he claims to have experience in. So, like, for example, he had some real estate courses, but he actually doesn't have any real experience and success and credibility in real estate. For example, so he is a grifter where he's selling courses off of things that he's never done before. And you can't teach things that you've never done before, but he's a good example of that. Um, Another example is Dan Lok. He's apparently a so-called billionaire, but he has a program of himself as well, where he develops training and teaches people how to become wealthy and financially independent through high-ticket sales. Where like he'll help someone, for example, just as an example, like sell an item or product for like a high end amount of money. So, for example, he'll help you sell like a pen, for example, that might be worth $3 to help you develop a way to sell that pen for $50, for example, like high ticket sales program training. And what happens is people join this program and it's like worth over $1,000 or so, and all it did was it led to more purchasing. Where like once they got into the program, further on down the road, the first part that was worth over $1,000 was to get into the high ticket sales program, and then further on down the road, he'll advertise, hey, you learned that, but then hey, you need to learn high ticket closures. So then he's spending more thousands of dollars on that program as well. And so it's like a funnel where like you buy one thing from his program, and then you're going to be prompted to buy more things from his program. And there are people that have spoken out and talked about him where they spend thousands of dollars on his program, and they were at a financial loss from that, and they lost a lot of money from that, and it actually wasn't helpful. It wasn't helpful for them whatsoever, and they lost a lot of money with that as well too. And people that have actually spoken out about that have been, legally pressured and legally sued by him just to, just for him to shut their mouths up and silence them. But he is a scam as well too. And that's a similar method with how all these grifters operate. And then another example would be Robert Kiyosaki, where he claims that he's wealthy in like the oil business or the oil industry, stock market, and real estate, where in reality, honestly, he's a scam artist. His main source of income his wealth has mainly come from Rich Dad Poor Dad, where he wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then after he wrote that book, he started the company Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he used that brand name to sell courses on how to build real estate and other things in other industries as well too. And those, cost thousands of dollars to get in, and his seminars for those things were, thousands of dollars to attend. And there have been people that reported how like that was a scam and how they lost a lot of money with Rich Dad Poor Dad and investing into it, and it actually wasn't helpful for them, and they lost a lot of money with their investment, and they were at a financial loss. And along with that, there's no actual evidence of Robert Kiyosaki having a credible real estate background. And then on top of that, his income has come from Rich Dad Poor Dad book sales, as well as the brand name he took from that to create the Rich Dad Poor Dad company to sell, expensive training programs and seminars and et cetera, et cetera. On top of that, he lied to, just a side note, he lied to on the book Business of the 21st Century by Robert Kiyosaki. He lied in that book when he said that, I've never been in an MLM, and so my opinion on the telemarketing industry is unbiased. Well, that's actually false, and he lied because he was in Amway. If you didn't know this, he was in Amway around the early 2000s. He was on the Dex Yeager team. And he didn't succeed with Amway. He eventually quit. Kind of a weird story, but when Robert Kiyosaki wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad originally, and he released that, it wasn't doing good in sales because no one knew who he was. No one knew what Rich Dad Poor Dad was. It wasn't until a diamond from Amway saw the book at a gas station and read it, and then he liked it because at the back of the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, it talked about, or somewhere in the book, it talked about he was promoting, getting to a multi-marketing company. He said that he said that somewhere in the book of Rich Dad Poor Dad, and obviously the Amway Diamond liked that, and so the Amway Diamond not only bought that book for himself, but then he bought over $100 for his downline, and eventually the word spread around, for everyone that's a part of Amway IBOs to buy Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's what helps get the word around about Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's how people, by word of mouth, how Rich Dad Poor Dad became popular, and that's how it became a bestseller. It was really because of Amway. That was it, just an Amway Diamond, and then eventually people are part of Amway buying the book because Rich Dad Poor Dad promoted multi-marketing, and through that time, Dexter Yeager and multiple other diamonds would invite Robert Kiyosaki to go to their conferences, their functions, to speak at their functions. And so that's where, they get the ESB&I quadrant, and that's, why if you ever go to any meeting from any training system, which is, LTD, Worldwide Dream Builders, Worldwide, Network 21, etc., URA, that they're always going to show the ES and BI quadrant. Well, the reason why is because Robert Kiyosaki coined that quadrant model, and on top of that, he would always draw that out at every Dexter Yeager's / any diamond conference that he attended. And eventually people adopted that quadrant and they started to use that in every meeting, such as, somewhere in the vetting process like today, and then also, info sessions / group evaluations. And he was on the Dex Yeager team. He was sponsored by Diamond. I think it was the same Diamond that bought the book originally at the gas station. But regardless, he was sponsored by Diamond, and he was successful at it. What was weird was that he was never a high level leader, but he was speaking at conferences because he wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they would sell Rich Dad Poor Dad at the bookstores that they because when you go to a conference, at least with LTD anyway, they'll rent out a room somewhere in the Coliseum area to sell all the products such as merch, apparel, as well as self-help books. And so back then they did the same thing where they were selling audios as well as self-help books in a rented room somewhere in the Coliseum where the conference is being held. And so obviously they compensated Robert Kiyosaki with the tool money, but then on top of that, he was speaking on stage, but he wasn't even a platinum. He was way below a platinum, and I don't think he got the concept of having to earn your way to the stage like any other IBO, where you have to kind of develop yourself and earn your way to platinum and above to speak on stage. Where when he launched, he was already a speaker on rotation, and so I think he had a kind of a weird start that way, and I think kind of affected that where he was too focused on speaking and not really on actually building his so-called Amway business by going on the marketplace, trying to recruit / solicit / vet people to join his downline. I don't think he had any downline he developed, actually. I think he was still focused on speaking, and I don't know. But eventually, for whatever reason, he quit. He didn't stay too long. And so, but it's funny how people today in Amway, it doesn't matter what traces that you're part of, people in Amway today, including my upline, will use Robert Kiyosaki as an example where hey, he promoted, our industry, which Amway is a part of. And, and that's why, Business 21st Century is used in the vetting process to prospects and Um, and eventually they took that out of the vetting process just because they wanted to use other books. But it is still a read people to read. It is still something for people to read at some point down the road if they get launched. But still, they use that book as a pillar. Like, hey, you have a credible entrepreneur promoting our industry. But like, it's first off, it's biased because you know he he became famous and Rich Dad became known because of Amway. Because if it wasn't for that diamond buying that book and giving it to his downline for the word to get spread around, Rich Dad Poor Dad would not be the best seller that it is today, and that would have affected things in terms of like where he would be today. Would he be as known today? Would Rich Dad Poor Dad, the company, exist today? I mean, he has anyone to think, 100%. And on top of that, he deliberately lied and said, "Hey, I've never been a part of a multi-marketing company," when there's evidence and proof and video footage of him explaining how his upline diamond is such and such, and I've joined Amway. Like, I'll put this on my sources, but like, he deliberately was in Amway, and he deliberately lied years later, claiming that he never was a part of a multi-American company when he actually was. He was part of Amway. So that's a lie, and he claims to be a financial expert in like oil, real estate, and whatever, but really he only built his wealth through Rich Dad Poor Dad, that book, which people have came out and said that Rich Dad was a fictional character and that book is made up. But regardless of the fact, his wealth has come from just that book, being an author, and then him making a company that sells training courses over things he doesn't have any real credibility over, by using the Rich Dad Poor Dad brand label name to be the representation of that training course that he's selling and that he continues to sell, as well as his seminars. But he doesn't actually have any evidence over him and his real estate background that he claims, as well as other industries that he claims to have success and credibility in as well too. It's all just through, again, like these other grifters here, educational, selling programs, selling seminars. So that's Robert Kiyosaki. And then Grant Cardone, same thing. He sells programs over things he doesn't actually have credibility over, and charges $1,000 of it. People have talked about his events like the 10X, seminars or conferences, and how like that's thousands of dollars and there wasn't actually real value when they actually went to those conferences. And there's a lot of Grant Cardone that I could talk about, but honestly, you can do your own research on that too. There's so much stuff out there about him being exposed now, but I mean, he has a lot of training courses as well too that he doesn't have actually any experience in as well too. So that's another example. Those are just some really famous entrepreneurs that I can think of at the top of my head. But there's more out there that, the main premise is to, they make wealth off of claiming that they have success in some particular industry or some particular field when they actually don't have any credibility or success in that field that they claim to have. But they make a training program off of that, and that's where they become wealthy, is off that training program that they develop that claims that they have credibility when they actually don't have any experience over what they claim to have experience in, credible experience. And there's just countless stuff of this out there, all over the internet. So, and it's the same thing with Amway and LTD too, where we might not be online, but people going out to the grocery stores, gas stations, and multiple marketplaces promoting Amway and LTD. And, the scam is that, hey, I went over this before earlier on this episode about the claims, and then you get to the process, and then you find out that your coach is not the person that was actually, you find that the coach that you have once you get launched isn't the person that you thought you would have when you first heard, the description of sharing a story, and you're being mentored by someone that has a job and that isn't making six figures and that isn't a millionaire and whatever. And then on top of that too, the ones that are millionaires or making six figures or whatever, they actually are making money from the tool system LTD, not with Amway. A majority of it, and they're not disclosing that, and they're not being honest about that. And on top of that, they're claiming that, hey, they're free because, they have their job, the boss, no stress, when their boss is, once you learn how the tools plan works, their boss is the diamond that owns the tool system, and if they go against the tool system and their ideals and whatever, and their standards or whatever, and their rules, the diamond that owns the tool system can kick you out. And that means they can kick you out of the tool system income, they can kick you out of the tools comp plan, and then they'll make money off of that down that you registered under the tool system, while you make zero if they kick you out of the tool system. So, you're not really free. Your future is not in your hands because it's based off the diamond, and you need to kiss their ass and kiss their ring and submit to them, or you will lose your tool money. That's how it works. So, with all that being said, in my opinion, if you're out there selling an online training program, selling an online training course to build financial wealth, independence specifically, I'll be honest with you and blunt with you. Outside of Michelle Garabito and her significant other, they're all scams. The reason why I say that is because Michelle Garabito and her significant other, they're legitimate because, they used to be in Amway, and so they know how it's like to be scammed, and they know about the tool system and everything. So, Michelle Garabito and her significant other are legitimate entrepreneurs. They are not grifters, they are legitimate entrepreneurs, and I recommend anyone to check them out and to join their educational mentorship. But they're an anomaly. So outside of, Michelle Garabito and her significant other, outside of them, any entrepreneur so-called that's offering online training program to become wealthy, I'm calling you a scam. You are a scam, because you guys all lie, manipulate, and deceive. And it's not bad to offer training on how to build wealth, but if you're not being honest and truthful, where you actually don't have experience and credibility building wealth, but you're claiming that you do, and you're training and you're selling a program to charge people to join a program to learn how to build success in whatever that you did, so-called, but you didn't actually do, that's a problem. So, in my opinion, all these online so-called entrepreneurs are grifters, where they lie and deceive, and they teach off of what they say, not off of actually what they did. So they talk a big game, say, hey, I'm the shit, I have this lifestyle, look at my car, look at my watch, look at my house, I have success and credibility in this industry, when that's all fake and that's not true. And so, I'll say this, if you ever do get approached by any grifter, I don't care if it's Amway, LTD, or anyone online that you see on YouTube or Rumble, this is very important. You don't know these people, and you don't know them, and so you don't know if they're lying or not, and they're accounting this entrepreneurs out there that do lie, and because they lie about their lifestyle, their income, how they made their income. So I would say how to tell a real entrepreneur from a fake grifter, entrepreneur, guru, so-called, is two things. First thing is you need to see a profit and loss balance sheet from the business that they claim to have success in. So if they claim that they had a successful online business through some industry, or they claim that they were successful in this industry or this um, arena of life, whatever the case may be, you need to ask for a profit and loss balance sheet from whatever it is that they claim to have credibility in, just to make sure they are actually profitable and successful and have credibility over what they claim to have. And then I would ask a profit and loss balance sheet over the training program that they own that is selling the training course to you. So if they have a training company that's out there on YouTube or Rumble making ads saying, hey, join this training program to learn how to build wealth in this industry or this arena of life, I would ask for a profit and loss balance sheet from that training company just to see how much money they actually are making from that training company, from them selling courses to people. And then I would take that and compare that to the profit and loss balance sheet from the business or the arena of life that they have credibility and over that they claim to have. I would compare that, and if it's, for example, looks like, hey, 87% of their income is coming from their training program that they own, or the training company that they own, and on the other side, their business that they claim to have credibility and actually wasn't successful, and they were at a financial loss, that's a red flag. It means that they are an expert in selling training programs over areas that they don't have credibility in or credibility over, but they actually don't have experience and credibility in the industry or the arena that they claim to have. That's a problem. That's a red flag. That means they are a fake grifter entrepreneur. They're not a real legitimate entrepreneur. And if it's 50-50, where 50% of their wealth is coming from the business that they claim to have credibility in over, and they're at a profit, and the other 50% is coming from the training company that they own. That's fine, because they have credibility in not only selling training courses, but they also have credibility, and more importantly, in the arena that they claim to have credibility in, whatever business. Or if it's like, hey, 75% of their income is coming from the training company, and 25% is coming from their business or arena that they claim to have credibility in over, but it's still profitable, where, hey, they're making more money than they actually have spent or invested in. That's fine too. I mean, as long as they're profitable, in whatever industry that they claim to have, or that they claim to have credibility in, that's fine. It's just, if it's a thing where, like, hey, for example, they claim to have a successful business in this industry, but that business that they own is at a financial loss, and they're losing more money than they're spending or investing, but they're wealthy because they have a training company that sells training on how to build wealth in the industry that they claim to have, but they actually don't have credibility in over. That's an issue. So, I mean, again, it just goes back to those two things. You need to see a profit and loss balance sheet over the company or the arena in life that they claim to have credibility in, and they need to see a profit and loss balance sheet from the training system that they own that is selling the training course to you, and you need to compare and contrast those two profit and loss balance sheets just to make sure that they are who they say they are. Because if they are not who they say that they are, that's a problem. It just means that they're a fake grifter that is just selling stuff that they don't have actually credibility and experience in. So that's a red flag, and that's a problem. Same thing goes with Amway and LTD. With Amway and LTD, you need to see a profit and loss balance sheet from their Amway so-called business just to make sure they're actually profitable. And you need to see a profit and loss balance sheet from the LTD tools compensation plan as well too. And compare and contrast those things and see, hey, are they actually legit? Or is it like, hey, 80% of their income is coming from the tool system and 20% is coming from the Amway comp plan system. And so they actually don't have credibility in Amway. They only have credibility in just selling, training, motivational material to the downline. And they actually don't have credibility in building a successful so-called Amway business. That's an example. And that's actually a real example because that's the truth when it comes to these training systems. When the diamonds are making 80% of their income from the tools plan and the 20% of their income is coming from Amway comp plan. That's the truth. So it's an example and also the truth. So again, it all just goes back to the profit and loss balance sheet. You need to see that. And if they don't have a profit and loss balance sheet, they are not a real business owner, and they are not legitimate because how can I tell? And they're not professional as well too. I mean, a profit and loss balance sheet is very, very critical. You need to have that. And also it tells me too that you're not credible as well too, because if you're not willing to show that to me, you're just making claims saying, hey, I'm wealthy, I'm rich, I'm whatever, but you're not willing to walk that walk. You're willing to talk the talk, but you're not willing to walk the walk. That's one thing why I'm making this episode. Is like I'm sick of the talking. People talk, but they don't actually walk that walk. No one wants to ever walk that walk and prove who they say they are. So I mean, if you're on the internet, making these claims and selling training courses and whatnot, prove yourself before you just talk. And if you're not willing to prove yourself, stop talking. And you know what? You have the right to see these things because they're coming to you. Just know that you're not. Just know that like you're in the driver's seat. They are not in the driver's seat. They're trying to manipulate their way into the driver's seat and take you in the back seat or in the trunk, for example. But actually, you're in the driver's seat because their income is relying on you investing into their training course or their training programs. Just note that. It's very important to note that. So if you're ever approached by an ad anywhere, Rumble, YouTube, anywhere about, hey, join my program, join my system to build wealth or financial independence, to become wealthy one day down the road, like you can learn from me. They're coming to you. Just note that they're coming to you with their ads, and they're talking a big game and being bold in front of you with their cars and Lamborghinis and their watches and whatever, saying, and talking big about themselves, like, hey, I'm the shit, I'm this, I'm that. But just know that you're in the driver's seat. They're not in the driver's seat. They're selling themselves to you, not the other way around. I just want to make that clear because they're going to try and flip that, but don't allow it to happen. You're in the driver's seat, and so with that, you have the full right to see profit and loss balance sheets, because they're coming to you. So if you ask a profit and loss balance sheet over the industry or the business that they claim to have credibility in, you have the full right to see that profit and loss balance sheet. And if they're not willing to show that to you, then they are a fraud. And that's a red flag. Because they should be willing to show that to you because they're willing to show off their Lamborghini, so-called, their fast cars, so-called. They're willing to show you their watch and their suits and their dresses and their mansions, so-called. But I don't know if they really have the credibility. And a lot of them will claim to, hey, I don't need to sell this training program to you. I just want to do this out of the out of the goodness of my heart to help people. If that's the case, and if you really do have all the money in the world and that you really are successful, then prove it. It's that simple, just to show a profit and loss balance sheet. Don't give me the bull crap of, oh, it's proprietary or whatever. No, I need to see a profit and loss balance sheet because you came to me with your ads and your advertisements. And you're flaunting your lifestyle, being bold about that, but now you don't want to be bold about showing a profit and loss balance sheet over the industry that you claim to have credibility in. That's a problem. And then if you're not willing to show a profit and loss balance sheet over the training company that is selling the course to me or to you, that is also a problem because they're trying to hide the fact that they're making most of their income, if not all of it, from the training company that is selling the course or courses to you or to me, if not both. And so that shows that they have credibility in selling programs that they don't have any background or experience in to thousands of people and make wealth off of that versus actually having credibility and a background experience over the things that they claim to have credibility in. It's hypocrisy and it's a lie deliberately and on purpose. Usury and manipulation. So you have the full right. And so if you ever do get approached by those things, before you join, you need to ask for a profit and loss balance sheet from the entrepreneur or entrepreneurs that claim to have a background and a credible history with whatever industry that they claim to have. You need to see a profit and loss balance sheet to see if they're profitable, and they need to see a profit and loss balance sheet over the training system that is selling the training course or courses to you, and compare and contrast those two different profit and loss balance sheets just to see if they are who they say that they are. Because if they are not, then that's a red flag, and you should just step away and walk away. You're better off betting on yourself and spending money, thousands of dollars on yourself and losing or failing on yourself than, putting all your money into someone that you don't know is legitimate or not. And that could be a scam artist that actually doesn't have any credibility or background over what they claim to have, and spending thousands of dollars on their training courses or their training program, or even just, a monthly membership for less than $100 or whatever. I mean, it's the same thing. It's all a scam if they don't actually have credibility in what they claim to have credibility in, and it's all a scam if they make more money off the system, educational system, versus them actually having more money or profitable income from the arena in life that they claim to have a credible background in. So, and this is a very huge epidemic that's happening in today's world. The grifting space, just because, on YouTube, for example, financial education is like the number one category right now. And I know overall the educational market for finance anyway, financial education is like worth, over hundreds of millions of dollars just as a loan, as an industry. So that's why a lot of fake gurus are tapping into that industry, and they're preying on people by selling courses or programs or training systems over things that they don't actually have history in, credibility in. And it's usury and manipulation, and they're using people that are actually struggling financially and, making ends meet just to prosper and benefit off those losses. And I hate people like that. And some people may say, what's the point though? I mean, it's the same with like products like, like a water bottle or like a water company, that sells water, like flavored water, for example, and they claim that, hey, this is a good flavored water that's going to hydrate you, and it's very, very valuable, and so you should buy this, and it's actually not, like, it's actually not like a beneficial product that it claims to be. What's the difference? The difference is in economics, elastic demand and inelastic demand. So like, a company that sells, flavored water that makes these claims of, extreme hydration and, all these health benefits, but it actually doesn't have those benefits. The difference is that, you know, there is an elastic demand for that water bottle because the price you can only make that price or jack up that price of each water bottle so high. No one's going to want to pay, for example, um, $100 for one bottle of flavored water. But so that's an elastic demand, for an example. But like with inelastic demand, there is no limits really. Like if people are financially struggling, which is what these fake gurus tap into as a market. If people are financially struggling, for example, I mean, there is no limits that they'll go to. Like if someone has a son or a daughter that they need to take care of, and a wife and a spouse, and they're barely making ends meet, and they're financially struggling. I mean, they will do whatever it takes to provide for their family and maybe learn other ways to build income to provide for their family. Um, Especially if an opportunity arises for them to build financial wealth. I mean, they'll take it in a heartbeat, and they are willing to spend as much as they want to, or can, or as much as they need to provide for their family and for their family's future. So if some fake guru comes along to that person that has a wife and a daughter or a son, and they're at a financial struggle right now, they'll you know they'll take the program from an entrepreneur that's selling a program for 20 grand in a heartbeat, because that's an inelastic demand where there's really there's no limit to how much they will spend for their family to learn how to build wealth for their family. So I mean, they'll spend their last $1,000, or they'll spend 20 grand or whatever on any kind of training program or courses to learn how to build wealth for the family and to provide for the family. I mean, yeah, it's inelastic. Whereas like a water bottle, for example, like I mentioned before, I mean, you can only go up so high before people are like, nah, water's not worth that much. But like a training course, I mean, it's worth a lot, because we're talking about providing for your family and your family's future and wealth and lifestyle and living and day to day, especially with the job market now not being so good. And I mean, I hope that all makes sense about what inelastic demand is versus elastic demand. So it's not the same thing. We can try and compare that, but um, I just hate it when these grifters out here take advantage of people that are genuine and genuinely losing money and not financially doing so well, and they prey on their needs that they're actually going through just to make a profit off of them. And say like, hey, is your daughter worth this? Is your wife worth this? I mean, is your husband worth this? I mean, and I've seen that with Amway and LTD. They prey on those things just to make money off of them, because they're going to use that to say, hey, you need to go to this conference, you need to go to this meetings, and that's where the majority of the income is made. It's a tool system. 80% of the tools income is 80% of these high level leaders in Amway are making money from the tool system, and 20% is coming from Amway. And then on top of that, you better be day one buying tickets, because they won't tell you this, but they actually earn a higher percentage if you're a diamond and above. They earn a higher percentage off of tickets being sold in advance. So you better be day one. I mean, like, of course they want you to go to the meeting. Of course they're going to stress you, hey, is your wife not worth this to go to this conference? They want you to go to that conference to spend money on that ticket. because they earn revenue off of that. Emeralds and above earn money from each head, each person that goes to a conference. It's different for every person because, it's based off of the diamond that owns the tool system. So everyone gets a different deal. But understand, emeralds and above are earning profit from every single person in the download that goes to that conference and that buys a ticket. So of course they want you to be there. They want to make money off of you. They want to make money off of you subscribing to the tool system, the tools app subscriptions, all of that. So yeah, they're going to prey on that and use that anything they can to make sure that you buy products from the tool system as well as from Amway as well too. And they're going to use the scarcity tactic, which I hate. It's the same with all these grifters too. They're going to use the scarcity tactic where, like, hey, if you don't join this program, if you don't stay in this program, if you're not in this program, you're going to financially struggle. You're going to be broke for the rest of your life. Like with Amway, for example, my upline would say, hey, this is not only the number one opportunity in the world to create time, money, and financial independence, but this is the only opportunity in the world to create time, money, and financial independence. The only one in a country where, hey, it's the land of opportunity. Amway is the only opportunity out there in the world. That's funny. And it's the same with all these other fake entrepreneurs too. They're going to use that same tactic where, like, hey, if you're not in this program, if you're not in this course, you're going to be broke for the rest of your life, or go back to being broke. That's where you were before this program or whatever. Like, they will use the scarcity tactic to pull you in and to keep you in if you already joined, of them being the only source that you have to build financial wealth independence. And I hate that where, someone on some platform, when it comes to building financial education, is saying, hey, I am your only shot and I'm your last shot to building financial wealth for yourself. If you leave this, or if you don't join this, you will never, ever, ever, ever have a chance to build financial wealth for you or your family ever. Like, I am your one and only savior. That's it. I hate that. That is fearmonger, and that is manipulation. Amway does that. LTD does that. And every fake online guru out there does the same thing too, where they claim to be the only thing out there to help you build financial wealth and independence for yourself. And if you're not in that thing, or if you don't join this thing, or if you don't stay in this thing, you have no hope for your future whatsoever. No hope. You're done. That is a scarcity tactic, deliberately and purposefully. And I hate that. It's manipulation. Because all you're doing is taking advantage of people that are genuinely struggling financially, and you're taking their hard-earned money just to make a profit off of them. And so you're doing everything that you can to keep them in, to take them in, to take their income. So again, going back to earlier, my upline sponsor, former sponsor, didn't go well. He's a bad example. I was at a financial loss for 6 years, so he's a bad example as far as being someone that taught me how to budget well and taught me how to make money or build wealth for myself. No, I can tell you firsthand from experience that I was at a financial loss and in debt because of him for 6 years. I didn't make a single dime or a single profit out of Amway or LTD. And he is not a pillar of success because he does not make his money honestly. He makes money through exploitation, manipulation of others, where he is making his Amway comp plan from the majority, or if not all of his downline, being at financial loss through subscribing and buying their ditto from the Amway comp plan, as well as everyone in his downline from the tool system, them subscribing to LTD. He's making a profit off of that while everyone else is downline, which is, below platinum, are earning zero LTD tools compensation. So it's all manipulation, it's all usury, and he's not a pillar of success for that because, yeah, he may have good money, but that good money wasn't earned honestly. It was earned through exploitation and usury. So he's a bad example. Why would I want to use him as an example for financial success when he made his money through usury and exploitation of others and usury? That is a bad example. Why would I want to use that? I would rather be broke than use money or earn money through using and hurting people purposefully like he does. So that's a bad example. As well as him, as I said before, him claiming to people that, hey, you can go platinum in 1 or 2 years when he's still struggling to maintain his platinum ship, if not go higher beyond that within a single year, as well as him claiming, hey, you can be free if you just follow my program that I have for you in 5 years to prospects and the downline when he's still working a job, been in for over 10 years, same thing as with his wife. And then as well as that too, him, saying that like, hey, 95% of businesses fail, but then he's claiming that, hey, my curriculum with Kevin Schreer's team, is foolproof if you just put in 100% genuine effort. But, if that stat you said before is true, then that means that, it's a high failure rate because of what you said. Then that means it's a high failure rate with your curriculum that, hey, even if you do put in genuine effort, a lot of people don't succeed with this thing. But then, no, you want to say that stat that I mentioned before, and then say, hey, huge success rate if you just put in that work ethic, and it's foolproof and feasible, but it's actually not the case. Even more so than that, no one. I've gone this before my show. I'm not going to really go over this right now, too. But, but overall, you can I can prove that Dan Gold is a fraud too. Like I said, profit and loss balance sheet from his Amway supply-based business and his LT Tools compensation plan. And even if he is at a profit, show me a profit and loss balance sheet from his downline. A majority of his downline, if not all of them, are going to get a financial loss. So that proves that, he's not who he says he is as far as being someone that can help you build financial independence and wealth and become more wealthy, because you know what? The majority, if not all this people on his downline are at a financial loss. So look at his track record there. Not what he says, but the proof. Look at the track record. I could literally prove this. And if he doesn't have a profit loss balance sheet, and if his downline doesn't have a profit loss balance sheet, there are not legitimate business owners that they claim to be. They are not legitimate business owners. Okay, because you can't just come out here, talk to prospects, talk to downline, say, hey, I make all this money, I'm successful, I'm a good example, I'm a pillar for success, when you can't even prove that with a profit loss balance sheet. If you do not have a profit loss balance sheet, I don't care what industry you're a part of, you are not legitimate. You must have a profit loss balance sheet. You can't just go out here and make all these claims without proving it and showing it. Don't tell me, show me. Profit loss balance sheet. Okay, and then when it comes to outside of Amway and LTD, these grifters out here, outside of Michelle Garabito and her significant other, y'all are scams. And you know what? I'm sick of seeing all your ads on YouTube, Rumble, and whatever else with your fake cars and your fake watches and suits that you don't own, your fake house. Prove it to me. Profit loss balance sheet from whatever industry that you claim to have success in, and then I want to see a profit loss balance sheet from your company that sells all of your training courses or all of your training systems as well too. And I want to compare the two to see if you actually are who you say you are. And if you're not willing to show me any one of those things, you are a fraud. And I just proved it right there. You are a fraud because you're willing to come out to me, come out to other people boldly with your so-called lifestyle. But then when I ask you to prove it to me tangibly, with tangible proof, you cower away like a pussy and not willing to be bold enough to show me a profit loss balance sheet of both your business or background that you claim to have credibility in, as well as your training system company that sells your courses. It's funny. You're willing to be bold in one spectrum, but then when it comes to not having to walk that walk now, you're not willing to be bold anymore, and now you're walking like a little bitch. So I just really wanted to get this off my chest, just because I'm really sick of people using my upline, Daniel Gobel, and others out there for financial success, and those same people that are out here claiming to be successful and talking a big game like my upline, they talk shit about people like myself that might not be making, you know, a significant amount of money or not be, that might not be successful. Well, at least I'm making my income honestly versus making my income off of deception, usury, and lies, manipulation, and exploitation. So, like I said again, I'd rather be broke and make money honestly than make money through usury and exploitation. So, because of that, I'm a better man than my so-called upline Daredevil, and I'm better than all these so-called fake grifters slash entrepreneurs that are out there. So I'm just really sick of these people. Like, of course, they have money because it's all through lies, manipulation, deceit, and exploitation. That's not impressive. That's not a pillar of success. It's just fake. You know, they build themselves up purposefully. They talk a big game about themselves purposefully, but they really aren't all that. They really aren't what they claim to be, and they really aren't as successful or as amazing people that they claim and that they try and portray people to be. So, like I said again, Dan Goebel, bad example for financial success and financial budgeting and financial wealth. Bad example. Because like I said, I proved this with this episode right here for what I've stated, and then, you know, same thing with all these other grifters out here. Just bad examples, because at the end of the day, you guys are all fake. You guys lie, manipulate, and when I try and then prove you wrong, you guys aren't bold anymore. You guys walk away and cower away, not willing to prove yourselves to be who you are, that you say that you are. Last thing is, you know, this might be controversial, but I don't give a shit. So Andrew Tate, he's also a grifter as well too, because, you know, he claims to have financial background. Him and Tristan Tate, they claim to have a background in building financial wealth and independence from, you know, multiple industries. But reality is they actually only have credibility in one arena, and that's the webcam business. They built their wealth from having a webcam business with women, and those women were actually minors. They weren't adults. So, you know, he made money off of, you know, having and hiring women that were a part of his webcam business that were minors. Him and Tristan, and that's how they developed millions and millions and millions of dollars throughout the years. And now they are now they are indicted and under investigation, and they claim that their webcam business is not over, or they claim that their indictment is not over the webcam business when it actually is solely and directly tied to the webcam business. If you actually read the indictment of Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate. So I only want to mention that just because they're not who they say they are as far as being, you know, credible entrepreneurs that have credibility in multiple industries. They only have credibility in just having a webcam business that trafficked minors. Okay, that's not their success. And they run a training company called The Real World or Hustle University, where it's, you know, $50 per month to subscribe to The Real World or Hustle University to then learn how to build wealth through multiple industries. That is all a scam, because if you actually go on their platform and you sign up and register, they'll show you like their top 25 earners, and like the 25th one, I saw the list, it was $65. I'll repeat that again, $65. And there's like over like 100,000 people in the real world Because if you join that program, you'll see the total number of people that are in the real world for Hustle University, and it's over 100,000 people. So like I said, people are like making less than the average person is making less than $100, and so again, those people, those others that you might see that are making a profit from what they learn from the real world of Hustle University, those are just anomalies, or just a small percent of people. The majority of people in the real world of Hustle University are actually losing money, and they're actually at a financial loss. So and then again, it's ran by two brothers that only have credibility in building a webcam business with minors and trafficking minors, not by real entrepreneurs that have a background in building wealth and success in multiple industries. Here, just want to make that clear. They're not who they say that they are. So, and I'm not afraid to say this. I know him and his brother try and silence people. They even try and send some of their followers that worship and praise them to come and I don't know. I've heard stories of people. I've heard stories of Andrew hiring his people or his followers to go and find the address of people that speak out against him and come to their house and threaten them and whatever. I'm not afraid of that. But anyway, they're not who they say they are, as well too. So it's again another one of these fake grifters that are out here making claims that they can't back up, and that they deliberately lie and manipulate and deceive people. And it's just something that I don't stand for. So, with that being said, I want to just come out here and just talk about this space, this arena of grifters that are proliferating the internet, as well as the Amway / LT grifters that are proliferating the marketplace and soliciting people at multiple marketplaces and multiple grocery stores and gas stations and other areas to meet and select prospects. So, just want to get that out of my chest. So, again, just be aware and be careful about these grifters that are out here on the internet and out here in the marketplaces as well too. And just ask for those things I mentioned before earlier in this episode to ask. This concludes the episode. I'm your host, TJ Masumi, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks, bye.